Why do we buy season passes? The longer you follow me on Twitter, the more likely you are to run into one of my impassioned rants against season passes. Also, you've probably been subjected to more than the Surgeon General's maximum recommended dose of catgirl pictures, but, you know, whatever. Season passes and pre-orders make no sense to me, especially in an age of digital distribution. Pre-orders used to serve an actual purpose. Used to be if you wanted your new Nintendos or Segas, you had to go down to the store and pick up a physical copy of it. And if you wanted a game the day it was released, you could be screwed because the physical store that physically carried them could physically run out of them. Physically. Anyway, this actually happens sometimes. People were boned on release days because demand was too high. This was bad for gamers because they didn't get what they wanted, bad for stores because they were losing potential sales, and bad for the publishers because they weren't moving as many copies as possible. It was lose, lose, lose. Enter pre-ordering. A way to ensure that you'd get your hands on a game you wanted when it came out. Of course, that's not really the day we live in anymore. Most games, even on consoles, are distributed digitally. They come on a disc sometimes, sure, but at this point it's mostly ceremonial. It would take 6 DVDs to hold all of the install data for Fallout 4 and over 10 for Grand Theft Auto 5. You can save a bit on physical space if you use Blu-rays, but Blu-ray is expensive. And even still, all of Fallout 4 wouldn't fit on one disc, let alone GTA 5. We no longer have to worry about not getting our hands on games when they release on modern systems. And yet, pre-orders still exist. Why is that? Well, for one thing, while the benefit to you and me isn't there anymore, there's still a benefit to publishers. Getting a commitment to a full-price game from as many people as possible? Heck yes. If you write it out on paper, it makes no sense. In a capitalist economy, your money is basically everything. Money is what economists call fungible, which is a sort of pretentious way of saying it can be turned into anything. Like, if you have $60, you effectively have the potential to own anything worth $60. You could see several movies. You could buy a really fancy dinner. In the right parts of town, it might even be able to buy you love. In classic economics, it makes no rational sense to part with a fungible asset early. Money is much more powerful when it can be anything. Giving up money before you have the thing it's supposed to transform into? Huge no-nos, especially if you take into account the fact that our currency is almost constantly inflating and losing value, albeit slowly. So $60 spent today is a more valuable $60 than you might spend 6 months from now. Plus, classically speaking, a business is supposed to be motivated to get my money from me by presenting a product that entices me enough to give up my money. Pre-orders for both season passes and whole games completely remove this incentive. The money's gone. It's a sunk cost. Hooray! But you've heard all this before. Total Biscuit, Jim Sterling, and dozens of other game industry pundits have already gone over why season passes and pre-orders make no sense, are bad for us as gamers, and ultimately bad for the industry. But if they objectively make no sense, why do we buy them? I wrestle with this a lot. If you ask people why they buy season passes or pre-orders, you get a variety of answers from folks. Some say it's an investment. Some say it's a deal, particularly in the case of season passes where they think it's a bundle. Some will say that they have the money now and they may not have it later, so they buy it when they can. All of these reasons are fallacious when you look at them rationally. Season passes aren't an investment because they don't provide you any monetary return. In fact, by locking that money up earlier, you're actually losing more money due to inflation than if you waited. And if you have the money now for something you think you're gonna want later, you can set that money aside, don't spend it. In fact, you could even put it in a savings account and earn interest on it. These lines of thinking when it comes to purchasing goods and services are completely irrational. And yet totally common. And you know what? I'm totally not immune. I'm not sitting here saying that you are irrational. I'm saying that we, you, me, everyone is irrational. I hate season passes. A view not held by everyone here at JohnnyCast, but even I bought The Witcher 3's DLC pass. I've spent a lot of time justifying it, but the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter that CD Projekt Red crafts excellent stories and have really high integrity practices. All the same logic about sinking your money into something before you actually want or need it still holds. So why do I, someone who tries his damnedest to frame season passes and pre-order culture in a rational economic perspective, still fall victim to the lure and temptation of season passes? Simple. Transaction utility. Those of you who watched my last Rethinking video may remember during the ad spot for Audible that I mentioned I was listening to the book Misbehaving by Richard Thaler, who is a pioneer of a school of economics called behavioral economics, which was created to explain why humans behave irrationally, as opposed to traditional economic models which suggest that we wouldn't. But in a world full of rational consumers who think about their purchases from a logical perspective, season passes would never exist, and yet they do. Why is that? Thaler presents two concepts that work in concert with one another to explain this: acquisition utility and transaction utility. Acquisition utility is what is gained when something you buy has an objectively greater value than what you pay for it. For instance, if you're thirsty, paying $1 for a bottle of water is a good acquisition utility because the bottle of water is worth more to you than your dollar. Or in terms of games, I was bored, and the $60 I spent on Fallout 4 was worth less to me than the tens of hours of entertainment it provided for me. Notice how this sort of thinking would lead you to only buying games when you're actually bored and gonna play them. But that's not what we do, point of fact. At least not most of the time. Which brings us to transaction utility. Transaction utility is the difference between the price you pay for something and the price you would normally expect to pay. For example, if you missed the boat on the Fallout 4 season pass by a day and had to pay $49.99 for it instead of $29.99 it was the day before, that would produce what Thaler calls a negative transaction utility, aka a ripoff. You experience transaction utility all the time, probably every time you shop. Ever go into a department store and everything's on sale? Oh, look, a shirt you like. It's 20 bucks. But it's on sale, and the suggested retail price is $60. Looks like you're getting a shirt at a third of its original price. Of course, the suggested retail price is often complete nonsense, and the actual profit-turning price is the $20 you spend on it. On top of getting a new shirt to wear when you buy it, you're also getting the positive feeling of getting it for $40 cheaper, even if that entire feeling is as synthetic as the fibers woven to make the shirt. Season passes are entirely dependent on creating a feeling of positive transaction utility in gamers. For instance, Bethesda announced its first group of DLC in February. Automatron, $10. Wasteland Workshop, $5. Far Harbor, $25, bringing it to a total of $40. $10 more than the folks spent on the season pass. Wow! And then they announced they were raising the price to $50. But don't worry, they're planning on releasing $60 of DLC content, so even those who missed the boat on the season pass at $30 will feel like they're getting a bargain. Of course, the real price is $30, or $50, depending upon when you bought it. The $60 they're claiming the DLC is worth is effectively the suggested retail price. The funny thing is that, well, while this seems like crap at the first glance, we tend to like things to be this way. We love feeling like we're getting a deal, even if we're not, and we hate when the illusion is shattered. JCPenney and Macy's both tried to abandon this whole suggested retail price trick in favor of a more logical sales method. How'd they do? They face planted. The CEO of JCPenney said they were doing away with what he called fake pricing and also dropped the whole 99 shtick. No more $9.99, everything's $10. Sales and stock prices both plummeted for Macy's and JCPenney. JCPenney's CEO resigned and their sales still haven't recovered. Corporations love season passes because advanced purchasing of a product separates the purchasing decision from the decision to play the game itself. Once you sunk that money in, it's gone. You could never play the DLC, and they still have the money. And it seems worth it to us because, you know, if and when you decide to, you can play it whenever you want. So at the end of the day, season passes probably aren't going anywhere. They bug me. They bug you, but honestly, the truth of the matter is that we like the feeling of getting a good deal on something, and we'll always be able to justify the purchases to ourselves, even if they make no financial sense at all. Even I, who can be a huge crybaby about it, can fall totally victim to this line of thinking. So, whatever. Do whatever you want. Just, know why you're doing it. Thanks for watching. This episode of Rethinking was sponsored by Opinion Outpost. Opinion Outpost is a website where you can complete surveys. Research companies need honest feedback on stuff like TV shows, movies, bags of chips, and politics, and they're willing to pay for it. You fill out surveys, get points, and redeem said points for cash or Amazon and iTunes gift cards. Oh, and with each survey you take, you get entered into a $10,000 giveaway. So, if you're opinionated like me and interested in getting paid a little bit for it, check out the link in the description or head to opinionoutpost.com. So if you buy season passes, why do you buy season passes? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'd like to throw out a personal thank you to our Patreon supporters for making this show and other shows possible. You should like and subscribe if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, just don't tell me about it, and thank you for watching this far. I'm glad you watched this far. This is the last time, probably, that I'll be talking about season passes, though if a particular industry does something really terrible, I might have to just talk about it, because oh my god, some publishers do terrible things. If you like this show more than words and likes and subscribes could possibly communicate, then you can head over to our Patreon page, where we accept contributions from people from all over the place who like to support our show. Now I'm gonna go. Don't have anything else to say. Been kind of crazy around here. It's raining today. Thunderstorms. Just want to take a nap and play New Vegas, but I wrote this episode after reading a book that I got from the library. It's a library book. I'm gonna go now. Bye.